Hey YouTube! How you guys doing? On this World Cancer Day, Sunday, February 4th, 2018. And yes, if you may have noticed, I'm not wearing a shirt. There's a reason for that. And it's because of World Cancer Day, and that's what I'd like to talk about. Did you know that today was World Cancer Day?
No, didn't know that.
Yep. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. But today's World Cancer Day, and yeah, I'm not wearing a shirt, but I am wearing my bracelets. So there's a reason I'm not wearing my shirt today on this World Cancer Day. It is because I want to let my battle scars fly. And I'm going to talk a bit about what World Cancer Day means to me and share my experiences. And I'm going to show you my other battle scar, which this is probably the hardest battle scar to see. But there is like a white blotch on my wrist from arterial blood gas from ABG. And I don't know if you can see that, but that is where I had my chemo port. So, first things first, what does World Cancer Day mean to me? Well, it means everything to me. You know, I reflect back on growing up through the years and going to my cancer checkups. And, you know, as a matter of fact, Dad, is my bedroom unlocked?
I think so.
Could you do me a favor and go and grab my Jared Bear for me?
Jared Bear, okay.
Is it unlocked?
No.
Okay. While he goes and gets that, World Cancer Day means everything to me because it takes me back, like I said, to my childhood when I was growing up through the years, going to see Dr. Scott, getting poked with needles, getting the ultrasounds and EKGs and x-rays and all that good stuff. Thank you. And this guy right here, we go back a long time, and I'm coming up on the 29th anniversary of my diagnosis, you know, the anniversary of my diagnosis, and this bear and I, we go back a long, long time. So, without getting emotional, I'm going to talk about some things, and, you know, I'm just going to lay it out for you. But this is my Jared Bear. This is how I got my nickname, first of all, you know, from my cancer battle. Jared Bear was there in my darkest moments when I was fighting this stuff. He brought me lots of comfort, lots of joy. And yeah, he has a couple of, these are lights, actually, what you see. And there's a button right here on his front paw. I can't, you know, use it anymore because Mom took the battery pack out. But I used to push the button. When I was a kid, I used to push a button and I used to say some swear words. And he would repeat it and the lights would flicker. You remember that, Dad, don't you?
Yeah, that's what Mom took the battery.
Yeah, so that's the end joke, is that Jared Bear here always used to teach me bad words. No, but we go back a very, very long way, a very long time. And I got my nickname Jared Bear from Jared Bear. And as you can see, he's got his, you know, rips and tears. He's quite old. I've had him since the 80s. But, you know, you got your rips and tears, and I've got my battle scars. So World Cancer Day to me it's a day of, you know, it's admiring the warriors, the survivors, acknowledging the fighters, remembering those who have fallen to this disease. Childhood cancer, my advocacy didn't pick up until about 2013. Because I realized at that point that I actually am a part of a much larger, much bigger community. And I guess my story and my voice does matter. I didn't realize it before. But it does, and I'm happy to be able to talk about those things. As a matter of fact, I'm currently in the middle of writing like a statement or like a short essay on the journey, when it started all the way up until today, this point. Because I'm telling you, it's a rough journey. It's a rough go. And not just for the warriors, but for the parents as well. I'm sure my dad could tell you stories of the many nights, the many days that he has spent pacing back and forth up and down the aisles at Sparrow, in the hallways, rather, not the aisles, but the hallways. And I'm sure many other parents had done the same thing, but I can't speak for them.
Yeah, one of my best friends did.
So this World Cancer Day, it's not just about me. It's not just about Jared Bear, although he is an heirloom, and he will always be a part of my history. And I hope someday, if I have children of my own, I will be able to pass Jared Bear down to them. And he used to have a smile, but with time, things kind of fall apart, and he doesn't really have much of a smile anymore. But I tell you what, I remember when he did have that full smile, and I still love Jared Bear. Okay, so what's a 31-year-old doing with a teddy bear? Well, that's the story behind Jared Bear. He was with me through everything. So yeah, that's how I got my nickname. And as I was saying, I'm in the middle of writing like a statement or an essay talking about my journey from the beginning forward. So I'm trying to get as much information from my mom and my dad as I can, because I have to have, well, I don't have to, but I want to have a written prepared statement. That way, when people ask me questions, or the more that I find out, the more that I can reintroduce back into the community. And it's not a way of embellishing. I'm not trying to embellish. I'm trying to tell my story as it happened. And I'm looking to expand my knowledge about my battle. I'm going to be setting up an appointment with my pediatric oncologist again. His name is Dr. Scott. Hopefully sometime soon. This Thursday, right while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to be at, I almost said Sparrow. I'm going to be at Hurley for the Radiothon. I'm really looking forward to that.
Provided we don't get a lot more snow.
Yeah, we're getting dumped on with a lot of snow. We're supposed to get like 4 to 7 inches by tonight. It's been snowing all night long, actually since yesterday.
Yeah.
It started yesterday afternoon,
Still snowing.
and it snowed all night long. It's still snowing, and the flakes, I think, have gotten bigger.
Roads are getting...
And the roads, the road conditions are very hazardous. So my fellow Michigander friends, please take it easy out there today. And use caution and leave early if there's somewhere you have to be. But I just wanted to, talk about World Cancer Day. And I realize that I have several, and I mean several, brothers and sisters in this community. And the reason that my focus is pediatric cancer is because I am a childhood cancer survivor. Now, granted, I could very well focus on teenage cancer, adult cancer. I could focus on all cancers, which I think all cancer patients are brothers and sisters, no matter the age. But my primary focus is pediatric cancer because I had experienced cancer when I was a child. I've even got, I thought I had my paperwork from the MSU subspecialties, but I don't have it on me right at this moment. I rearranged my papers. Damn. That's okay. So I had 3 different kinds of chemo. I had vincristine, adriamycin doxorubicin, and actinomycin D. I had 8 rounds of radiation. I had a blood transfusion. I had bone fragment removed from my hip. Do you remember them doing that? Taking bone fragment from my hip?
Yep.
So I've had that done. Because, you know, Mom wasn't sure if I had a blood transfusion. And when I was down there that day to see Dr. Scott, I asked him, did I have a blood transfusion? And he says, yes.
Yeah, you had blood transfusion.
I mean, he's had
I
the...
remember that.
Yeah, I mean, he has the original yellow folder.
Those questions I asked about it.
Yeah, and I did see all of the consent forms.
Because I asked them if they checked that blood for AIDS and everything else.
Well, AIDS, but, you know,
I'm saying
leukemia.
Any other kind of disease, they said, yes, it's checked.
Well, leukemia and, you know, blood cancers, you know, that kind of thing. Which, by the way, leukemia makes up for about 30% of the population of childhood cancer warriors. I did some research on that. So it's mainly leukemia that takes top prize. But the one thing that I would love to see go away is the word rare. Anytime I Google childhood cancer or pediatric cancer, the word rare always comes up in the same sentence. And we need to get rid of that word because it's not rare. It's not rare.
It's cancer. Cancer's cancer.
Yeah, there's nothing rare.
How you look at it. Cancer's cancer.
There's nothing rare about it.
Something no one wants to have.
Because it's self-contradictory. The statistics are in, the science is in, that, you know, I think they say 1 in every 285 children is diagnosed with cancer or something like that. I may be getting my statistics wrong, but nonetheless, the statistics are out there. Now, if the statistics are showing high volumes of numbers or high percentages of children who are being diagnosed daily, how can you then say it's rare? It isn't. It isn't, not by a long shot. And don't hold me to that statistic. I probably got it wrong, but I could have swore I read somewhere where it said 1 in every 285 children, or 1 in 10 or something like that. I don't remember.
But it's rare. It ain't nothing rare.
No, there's no rarity about childhood cancer. You know, it's one of those things that you cannot write off as, well, it's just like the flu or a cold, just a bad cough. No, it's not. It is much, much worse. Much worse. But World Cancer Day, just like the whole month of September, because September is when we put the spotlight on childhood cancer, although I would say that childhood cancer, even in the month of September, doesn't get the kind of oomph like breast cancer in October, where we all go pink. Childhood cancer, we all go gold in September. Well, I am gold all year round, not just in September. But it is the month in which we spotlight or focus childhood cancer. It doesn't get the attention or the national coverage that it deserves, and it should. I've even contacted some major news outlets. I don't know if I told you about that. I've gotten in contact with ABC News, CBS, NBC, Fox, all these people, and I've asked them, would you please, in the month of September, could you please do something for childhood cancer in the month of September? A lot of people don't know that. I don't like to talk about the things I do because I don't want to be one of these guys that says, oh, I'm doing this for this. Look at me. Aren't I special? No. I usually keep quiet about what I do because I don't think it's important enough for people to know what I'm doing. I do a lot of behind-the-scenes things, and childhood cancer is one of the things I don't always make known or make public. But on this World Cancer Day, I ask that we remember those who have passed away. I ask that we acknowledge those who still fight. They're fighting to this moment, and if they're watching this from their hospital beds or from their homes or from anywhere where they're receiving treatment, or if they're just relaxing at home, either way, I want you all to know that Jer Bear loves you, and I'm standing united with you in this fight. You're not alone. And just because I was cured from my cancer doesn't mean that I'm cured from the battle as a whole, because there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. And, you know, Jer Bear says hi. Yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, I don't mind talking about pediatric cancer, what it means to me, and talking about the journey. And we, of course, we need to admire the survivors, those who have come such a very long way since their battle. Now, I haven't really experienced any major after effects from the chemo, but because I had taken the Red Devil, doxorubicin, I am kind of on edge, because I don't know what that did to my heart, if it caused any heart damage, if it might have something to do with the regular heartbeats. I don't know, because sometimes I could be sitting on my couch and my heart will just start racing fast. And Dad, well, it could be stress. Well, I don't know if it's stress, although I am stressed about a lot of things, but I don't think it's stress. But it could be. I'm no doctor. I don't have a PhD, but I'm guessing what I should do is set up an appointment. Duh. You know, because I don't want it to be anything serious. I don't want to, I don't want to find out that these irregular heartbeats are a manifestation of heart disease or something serious along those lines. So I probably should get that checked out. And, I just want to make sure that I'm okay. I'm supposed to, I stopped going to my cancer checkups when I was, I think, 18. Because at that time they figured I'm just cured and there's really no reason for me to come back. Although my family doctor, he made me go back a few times, because he says, well, they're physicals. They're cancer checkups. I know what a cancer checkup is. I've had plenty of them. I am no stranger to them. I'm not in the dark about that kind of stuff. I know what a cancer checkup is. Because I've had enough IVs, I've had enough needle sticks, I've had enough EKGs and ultrasounds and X-rays and the whole 9 yards. I've had all of it. I've had enough of them to know what that is like. I am no stranger to this stuff, and I just flat out told him, you know what, don't give me this baloney that this is a physical. It's a cancer checkup. Call it what it is, and let's get the show on the road. And he just kind of looked at me like, oh, Jared means business. He's not afraid to tell it how it is. I'm not. And, of course, naturally, I'm drinking coffee out of my MSU cup today. And that's another way that I commemorate World Cancer Day, because if, in fact, my oncologists ever watch my YouTube videos, or if they ever, just kind of watch the channel nonchalantly, they will see that I drink coffee from an MSU Spartan cup. And especially on this day, I put them in the spotlight, Dr. Scott, Dr. Guerra, Dr. Kulkarni, for their continued years and excellence of service, for all that they've done for kids. Dr. Scott, he's my main man. He's everything to our family. And Dr. Gear and Dr. Kulkarni, they are everything to us. They are a part of our family. And they probably don't even realize this. They don't even recognize that. But they are. They are a part of our family. We love them dearly, and I will always be grateful and thankful for all of the work that they've done, the testing, and just everything they did. So I'm very grateful. Survivor guilt, I wanted to talk about that. I talk about that from time to time. Survivor guilt I think it started early in life. You know, like when I would go for my cancer checkups, I think the survivor guilt had blossomed into fruition when I was still a young kid. And I remember going to my checkup. It was a checkup I went to in East Lansing at the MSU clinic. And I'm just a little guy, you know, and I'm standing there holding my Jared Bear, the same fella. I'm just standing there, and my mom and dad were speaking to the receptionist about referrals and things like that. And I remember there was another little boy. He was, because there's like a little play area, as I recall it. There's a little play area in the same little space where the parents walk up to the receptionist window. Debbie and Kelly were the receptionists. And I remember to this day, like it happened just yesterday. It was a little boy. He had lost all his hair, and he had, you know, his IV pole, and he was wearing a gown, you know, one of the hospital gowns. And I'm just standing there with Jared Bear like this. And I'm just looking at him. And Mom says it's not polite to stare. Don't be staring. But I think that's when reality really set in for me. I think then at that point, I had discovered what survivor guilt was. Although I was little, sure. How could I explain? At that time, I didn't even know what survivor guilt was, but I think I felt that feeling of it. I just didn't know what the descriptive label was for that particular feeling. I don't even think my parents knew. But I remember it was that same day, and we had our 1987 Cavalier station wagon, our blue one, and we were coming home from East Lansing. We lived on Chapin Road in the big farmhouse. And I cried and cried and cried all the way home. I was in the back seat. I was under my Alf blanket. You guys remember the TV show Alf from the 80s. You know, he loved cats. I had a blanket, and I still have the blanket somewhere around here. But I was under my Alf blanket in the back seat, bawling my eyes out. And this is a kicker. The Bette Midler song called From a Distance had come on the radio. And it made me think of that little boy. I said I wasn't going to do this. But that song come on the radio. And that's what, even now, it just makes me sad. Because here I survived something. I don't know if that particular child survived or not. But it's the reality of it. The truth is anybody can say anything about childhood cancer. They can express their feelings about how sad it is that kids have cancer. And that's always okay to express your concern and your feeling about it. But, those of us who've been through it at such an early age, we know. You know, and I actually have a friend. She lives in Texas, and she's an advocate for DIPG. And, God, I just love her. She is so sweet. She, you know, because we have discussions through text messages, and she says, you know, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. And I don't want to sound like I'm you know, preaching to the choir. I don't want to come off as duh to someone who's actually lived through it. And I said, no way. No way. I said, because first of all, you are one of those advocates who are honest. You're not doing this for show. You're not doing this for any kind of personal benefit or gain other than you want to make children happy. You show your love and expressions and concerns for this disease, or not for the disease, but for the people affected by the disease, because we don't love cancer, by the way. But she is one of the most honest, straightforward people I've ever known in my life, and I just love and adore her to pieces. And she she felt out of place. She's like, well, I'm talking to you about something that you already know. Well, I mean, there's a lot. I'm very knowledgeable about a lot of things relating to childhood cancer, or at least I better be. But no, I don't mind the fact that she talks to me about those things. She's even said to me, I can't imagine the pain and the struggle that your family must have felt when you were going through this. I can't either. I was only 2 years old. I don't remember. You know, I remember. Here's what I remember. This is what I remember. I remember, and it's a very blurry memory. But I remember a tube coming out of my chest. I do remember that. My mother doesn't think I can remember that far back, but I do. I remember the tube coming out of my chest. I remember going into the playroom at Sparrow, and they had a set of fuzzy dice. And I remember just holding it and looking at it. I remember that much. I remember sitting in this dark room. I don't know if it was in like one of the exam rooms, like when I was getting an X-ray done. I don't remember exactly, Dad, what room I was in, but it was a dark room, and I was sitting in a chair, and there was a sink, and there was a light shining down over the sink, and there was a box of Uncle Ben's rice sitting on the counter, on the counter where the sink was. I don't know what it was for. But I remember that very specific detail. I don't know what it would have to do with me having cancer or going through what I had gone through, but I certainly and definitely remember that. In addition to the fairy dice, I remember just looking at it and holding it.
I think it was a room that they just made us sit in until we got another room ready.
But this was a very dark room. I mean, the only light there was a light shining down over the sink.
Maybe it could have been because of your eyes, because of you having that stuff put in you.
What stuff put in me?
Well, when you was getting the treatments and stuff, maybe they put you in that room so to get your eyes adjusted to where you know they brighten up slowly.
I don't know. But that's all I remember. It's just a light shining down over a sink, and there was a box of Uncle Ben's rice sitting on the sink. I remember Dr. Forsythe's office when, you know, I can remember this. I was sitting on Mom's lap at Dr. Forsythe's office in Chesaning. I had a tube coming out of my chest. Mom, to this day, asks me, how can you remember that?
Don't forget things like that.
I do remember it.
You don't forget things like that.
It's hard to not, you know, it's hard to forget things like that. It's hard not to remember. Just like, I don't know if you heard, I was just telling the people when we were in East Lansing that time. And that's where I first discovered survivor guilt, and I didn't even know what that was. I don't even think my parents knew that survivor guilt was an actual thing. But it is.
One thing we remember.
What's that?
Big flashlight.
Oh yeah, the big flashlight he's referring to is for those of you who are familiar with East Lansing, Michigan, in Meridian Township. If you go down Saginaw Road, which would be Business Loop 69, you come into Ingham County, Meridian Township. There's this big blue tower. And over by there used to be an old drive-in movie theater, which is not there anymore. They took it out. But there's a big blue tower, and it says Meridian on it, and it's still there today.
Yeah.
And I think I had made a video. I had recorded some video of that tower. You would have to look through my videos. It's one of my videos that I had recorded when I was going to East Lansing. I did pass that tower. That's the tower he's referring to. It looks like a giant flashlight. It's still there.
It's cool.
And it is cool looking. I mean, they've got one of those kinds of towers out by Clio.
Yeah.
Those big blue towers that looks like a giant flashlight.
Shaped just like a flashlight.
Then you would remember bringing Dr. Scott his French fries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think that's where I first remember Dr. Scott. You and Mom might remember him directly from Sparrow.
Yeah.
Because he was my he's a pediatric oncologist and hematologist, and
We remember him from there.
he's a professor, and I didn't know he was a professor.
Cool too.
And he's from Nigeria, and he is a very, very just the sweetest guy.
Right, though.
Huh?
Can never get your name right.
No, he knows who I am.
Jerry.
He used to call me Jerry all the time, but he knows who I am.
Yeah.
I mean, he would. I was one of his patients.
French fries.
But we used to take him because we go to East Lansing for my checkups, and we always used to take him a big order of McDonald's French fries. Back when they were cheap. And, you know, back in the early 90s,
Yeah.
McDonald's French fries weren't that much.
Yeah.
You know, even the big size of McDonald's French fries now, different story. But I have a friend who is also seen by Dr. Scott and Dr. Gira. His name is Caleb. And I always tell his mom, I said, if you see Dr. Scott, ask him if he still likes McDonald's French fries. The man loves McDonald's French fries. I don't know if she ever has asked him that question, but I know he does.
We went there that one day, and he couldn't believe it was you, and told him about French fries.
Yep. Because my stepdad, he's actually in the hospital today. He's in Owasso, having breathing problems. But he had an appointment at Sparrow. And luckily that day, Dr. Scott was still there. He was at Sparrow, although he works at the pediatric subspecialties clinic across the street from Sparrow. And today is now next to the Herbert Herman Cancer Center. But Dr. Scott was at Sparrow. And I walked into the room because he was like in a conference with a bunch of like nurses in training, I think.
Stand behind me.
And I stepped in the doorway. And Dr. Scott looks up, and his exact words, "Oh my God."
Jerry.
No, he didn't say Jerry. He didn't say that. He says, "Oh my God."
Yep.
And that was it. He stood up. He gave me I went to shake his hand, and he gave me a hug. He says, "Boy, you've gotten tall." And we seen, it was Dr. Kulkarni. Dr. Kulkarni was there that day. And Dr. Scott said, because I requested to see Dr. Kulkarni, and he says, well, Dr. Kulkarni's seeing a patient. And I said, oh, she's doing what she does best, because she's also an oncologist.
Great lady.
And he says, well, I'll get her out here in a minute. When she's done seeing the patient, I'll have her step out.
That was funny.
And when she stepped out, she blushed. Her face turned as red as my hair. She says, oh my God, you're so tall and so handsome. And I just couldn't believe it was her. Because when I was little, all these people were tall. You know, they were Dr. Gira, Dr. Kulkarni, and Dr. Scott were tall people.
Big people.
And when I had grown, they all got shorter.
Said you'd never grow.
Yeah, they said I'd never grow, and I'm over 6 foot tall.
6'6". Yep.
I remember, there's so much I remember from like my cancer checkups. Having labs drawn. The little butterfly needles, the 25 gauge butterflies. I never liked being poked with needles. I had enough of them. But I remember one day, and it was in East Lansing at the clinic, we, went in to see Debbie and Kelly, their receptionists, and
Nice people too.
and well, one of them's retired, and one of them became a surgeon.
Oh.
But at that time they were receptionists, and we walked into the room, and they were talking about what Dr. Scott had ordered up, you know, like the labs and the x-rays and all that stuff. And, you know, I didn't know what laboratory meant. It's that long L word. And after a while, I started to associate that long L word with those needles because I did not like needles. I don't like shots. I don't think anybody likes a shot. But this wasn't shot. It was blood work. It was labs. So it was Mom and Dad, you know, and me, of course. And I had my Jerry Bear with me. And so we walked into this. There's a great big waiting room. And they had an aquarium built right into the wall. Big goldfish. Really big goldfish. And I was already bawling because I knew what I was there for. You know, it's like, I don't want to get a poke. Can we just skip this and go on to the next? No. Got to get this done. But I would be crying before I even got called back. And my dad here, trying to preoccupy me with these big goldfish. Son, look at that. Check that out. And I'm too busy looking in the back like, oh, maybe they'll forget me, you know. And I got tears running down my face. I was only, 4 or 5 years old? And I was hoping they would have forgotten me. And Dad says, the quicker we get this done, the quicker we can get out of here and go to McDonald's and get some food. Get a cheeseburger or something, you know. And so I'm waiting patiently with tears running down my face. And then finally, Jared Fuller? You know, I start bawling even more. Dad picks me up. I'm kicking and screaming the whole way. But I've got my Jared Bear, you know, in my arms like this. And I'm kicking and screaming, no. Well, we finally sat down on one of those lab chairs where the armrest comes down across. And I sat on Dad's lap every time. And I remember the nurse, you know, she got down. She says, because even then I was known as Jer Bear. And she said, okay, Jer Bear, I know you don't like this, but the quicker we get this done, the quicker we'll get you out of here. And I even asked her, can we skip over this, please? You know, no, baby, I'm sorry, we can't skip over this. We have to do this. We want to make sure that you're okay. And so, you know, they wrap the tourniquet around my arm. They apply the alcohol swab to my arm. And I'm screaming, belligerently screaming. And Dad's kind of, stop it, son, you know, come on. You're all right. You're going to be fine. And so they take the little butterfly, the little 25 gauge butterfly, and they count. They don't even just stick it in. They count to 3 with me. Say, okay, Jared Bear, on the count of 3, you're gonna feel a little bee sting, you know, a little mosquito bite. Actually, that's what it was, mosquito bite. You're gonna feel a little mosquito bite. Are you ready? No. So come on, Barry, you can do this. And so we counted 1, 2, 3, mosquito bite, and they'd stick the needle in. I let out one scream, and that was it. After that, I'd be, you know, sniffling, and Dad would be sitting, you know, look at the blood going through the catheter into the vial, you know, that's awesome. Look at that. That's your blood. And I would just sit there, sniffles, you know, and I'd just sit there and watch. And the nurse would say, Jared Bear, you did such a great job. You were so awesome, you know. And then they'd ask me, well, you got your choice of Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, or Goofy, you know, the Band-Aids. Mickey Mouse, you know, with the sniffles. And so, okay, baby, we'll get you Mickey Mouse. And I had to hold the cotton on my arm. The cotton ball, just hold the cotton there. And so I had to hold the cotton. And there you go. And then they get down to eye level with me, which is this is what I liked.
Hey, come here.
Hey, Barkley, leave the cat alone. But this is what I liked. This was the best part. Is that they would get down to eye level with me. They would actually kneel down. And they would say, you did a good job, Jared. High fives. And I would give them high fives. And Dad, do you remember the time when the nurse actually cried with me?
Yep.
I'll never.
Kelly.
No, the person who was.
knock it off.
Hey, you guys.
Go on. Come on, Mama. Go on, Mama.
Go on, Mama. Go on. It's our cat.
There you go. Okay. There you
But
go.
the nurse, it was the nurse who was going to do the labs.
Yeah.
She says, I'm not trying to hurt you, baby. And she had tears coming down her eyes. I said, please don't hurt me. She says, baby, I'm not trying to hurt you. And she actually got emotional with me, which I will never forget it. There's just so much from my checkups that I will never forget. The x-rays. I'd be shirtless. And I will never forget always having to press my bare back against that icy cold x-ray board. I don't know if they still do that, though, Dad. Do they?
I don't know.
Do they still use x-ray boards?
I don't know if they do or not, son.
Because this is what I remember, is going into the x-ray room, and I would always just have to push my back up against that, and I would flinch every time I do it. And I think, Dad, you were either in the room with me.
Yeah, I had to put that thing on me.
Yeah.
When you had the x-rays.
Yeah.
That real heavy thing.
Yeah. And they'd say, take a deep breath. And they'd snap a picture. And they would look at my chest, my lungs, my heart. And I'm thinking that's why they always did x-rays on my chest.
Yeah, made sure everything was all right.
Because I took doxorubicin. And doxorubicin is, like I said earlier, it can cause damage to the heart. Which, by the way, I should get in to see a heart specialist, a cardiologist, I think is what they're called.
Yeah.
God, I'm such a dunce, I don't even know what a heart doctor is. I'm pretty sure it's a cardiologist.
Yeah.
Because you had to see a cardiologist in Saginaw.
Yep.
But that's something else I remember. I used to get these, they used to have these plastic, I don't know what they were. They were vials, like plastic vials for something. I don't know if it was a urine sample or if it couldn't have been for blood.
Well, some of them are round.
Yeah, well, this thing I had, it was round, like really round, and it had an orange twisty cap on it, but it was shaped like a rocket. But I don't know.
I think those was for blood.
You sure?
Yep.
Because
Those were for your blood.
Because usually the blood vials, when you draw blood, you're able to twist those on to the catheter on the end of the needle. You know, when you're not using a syringe to draw blood.
Oh, it's all different. They use different.
But what I'm saying is that the twisty cap didn't have an access port for the catheter from the needle to evacuate the blood. You know, that's what I'm saying. So I don't think it was a urine sample cup, although those do have orange lids, I do believe.
So what you tell them is all the pediatric kids that are having that done now, you've been through it.
Yeah,
and you're not alone. I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there and done that. This is why I share a lot of my memories and a lot of my story, because
they're not alone because you've been there and you've done all that.
I know exactly.
And how it feels.
I'm a soldier of that. I'm a veteran of that.
Yeah, and your friend. My friend's daughter.
Yeah, my dad, back actually shortly after I was hospitalized, my dad was working at this place in St. Charles, just up the road. It was called Thompson Boats. And he had a friend named Fred Priest who worked with him. And one day, just unexpectedly, I think you were coming off the elevator, right?
Yeah.
Dad was coming off the elevator. Fred was coming on the elevator. And my dad says,
We stopped talking.
Fred, what are you doing here? And my daughter has cancer. Really, my boy has cancer. Wilms tumor? Yeah. And it was the same kind of cancer.
Yeah.
We were the same age.
Yeah.
Same cancer, same hospital. Same doctor, same time, same everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if Melissa does any kind of advocacy or
Now she's a prison.
Yeah, she's a corrections officer.
Yeah.
Officer. For the Michigan Department of Corrections.
Yep. Doing good. She's got kids.
And she's got children, so that gives me hope.
Yeah.
Maybe I can have kids, because I was always told that the chemo or the radiation may have killed off the potency of my, in which case I may not be able to reproduce.
But she did.
But doctors can always be wrong, and it's not in any way saying that they're never right. I'm just saying at this particular moment, they could be wrong.
Well, one said you'd never grow, so they were wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, they even thought I had Marfan syndrome because I'm able to put my thumb clear across my hand.
I can't do that.
Because I have long digits. So they thought I had Marfan syndrome. And it came back that I didn't. It's just hereditary. It's a hereditary trait. But I can put my thumb all the way across my hand, and that's what they were concerned about.
They thought that too because you were so tall.
And my hands or my fingers are very long. My thumb is very long.
But the thing is, too, Jed, they thought because you were so tall,
yeah.
They had that, but I told them that, wait, I'm tall. His great-great-grandfather was tall. He was 7'4".
Yeah, he was a chief of an Indian tribe. Well, and something else that they also talked about was my arm span is taller than my height, which was very concerning to them, naturally.
Nope, that never.
But it came back as, no, it's just a normal hereditary trait that you had picked up from your earlier generations of ancestors, or through, passed down from my dad, and like Dad just said, we had a uncle who was a chief of an Indian tribe.
Grandpa.
Or was it Grandpa?
My great-great-great-grandfather was 7'4".
I thought it was our uncle.
No, great-grandpa.
Okay, well, it was a grandfather of ours. He was 7'4".
He's a tall man, Indian chief of the tribe.
Yeah, he was a chief of the Indian tribe.
Blackfoot.
Yeah, Blackfoot. But yeah, so they thought that the long fingers, the long digits, may have been indicative of Marfan syndrome. It's not. Or, the pointy chin. Because I have a protruding bottom jaw, and it comes at a narrow.
So do I.
And they thought that I had Sato syndrome. It's like, is there anything about me that is normal? After a while, I kind of got sick and tired of all these different things. But,
None of us are normal.
but it has to do with my health, and I should pay attention to it. Always I should pay attention to it. I'm trying to think of some other memories. The one memory that I had, though, where I learned about survivor guilt, that gets me every time. Just knowing that there were other kids didn't have hair, they were bald, and they, I don't know if you would remember this, Dad, but I already shared this with the people. About the time when we were at MSU clinic, and you and I were talking to Debbie and Kelly, and there was a little boy in there with bald hair, or his head was bald, and he had his walking pole, his IV, for his IV, he had his hospital gown, and I stood there with Jerry Bear, like this, and I was just staring at him. And Mom told me, son, it's not polite to stare. That at that moment, that's when I discovered survivor guilt. I didn't know that's what it was at the time, and I don't even think you and Mom knew that's what that was.
We didn't.
And I don't even think you and Mom had given that any kind of thought. Well,
no, we've had so much going through our minds that never even crossed our minds. It's just.
But survivor guilt it's real. Not just with the warriors like myself, not just with the survivors, but with the parents too. When I was on Facebook, I saw this a lot with a lot of the parents. I feel so terrible because, I mean, at the same time that I'm grateful, that my child survived, I also feel terrible because someone else's child did not.
Yeah.
That is always hard.
And we talk to the parents.
I try to talk, I that was the whole point of me becoming an advocate back in 2013. Like, hey, I have a lot to tell. I have a story. I want to share it.
And you just help the parents understand what was going on, and it helped them think of okay, this is what's happening. Should I look for this, or should I watch this, or whatever?
People have come to me. The parents have actually come to me and asked me questions. I didn't think I would have such a positive impact, although I have a lot of haters out there, but oh well.
That's another story.
Yeah, that's another story. But I've had parents come to me. I didn't think I had that kind of a positive impact. But I've had parents come to me and say, Jared, I am scared to death. What do I do? And what are you doing? In the best way that I can think, or the best possible answer that I could come up with, is you just got to hang in there. I know it's easier said than done. I know it's a hard journey. It is a hard road. But that is exactly what my parents had to do. It's exactly what I had to do. No matter how difficult it got, no matter how unsure we were, no matter how frustrating it was, no matter how painful it was, we had to keep going. We had to keep going. You know, it's like with dialysis patients. Once you start dialysis, you can't stop. Childhood cancer, in that regard, once you start something, I mean, you can end treatment. You have the option to end treatment. So I guess that's a bad analogy. That's a bad comparison, because once you start dialysis, I think you have to keep going. But with childhood cancer, you don't have to continue treatment. Or any kind of cancer. You don't have to continue treatment. But for us, we just kept going. We didn't stop. We didn't give up. I fought tooth and nail. I wear, I'm going to put you right over here for a minute, Jared Bear, for just 1 second. I fought tooth and nail. I've got these battle scars to prove just how hard I fought. At 2 years old, I had to learn what my strength was, what my weaknesses were. That is a very young age to have to learn what your strengths and weaknesses are. It's even harder for the parents who have to sit by and watch, and there's not a damn thing they can do about it. My dad was one of those dads. He was one of these parents who were scared. They were tired, exhausted, ran down, didn't know if he was coming or going. Hell, he even told me one time when I was sick, he says, you know what, I just want to go tie one on. I just want to go have a cold beer and just, forget about things. But he didn't, did you? Or did you?
No, but I slept in my car. Well, when we was at the hospital with you, I slept in the car a couple of nights.
You slept in the car?
Yeah, and went right back up. I sleep a couple hours and go back up.
So, and I want to put this out there too, because I think it's important that people know. Anytime someone tells you that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to childhood cancer, tell them they are dead wrong. Because I know exactly what childhood cancer is. I lived it. I breathed it. I know exactly what it is. And yes, I am a Wilms tumor childhood cancer survivor. That's true. But that doesn't mean that my fight is over. That doesn't mean that not only do I have my own plethora of after effects from chemo, which I'm allergic to the sun. That's one of them that I can say definitely is a product of the chemo, is that I'm allergic to the sun. But there could be a whole different array of other hidden things wrong with me that I just haven't discovered yet. But it doesn't mean that it's any less prevalent, because they contribute. Those long-term after effects, they contribute in their own way. They blossom and they manifest in their own way over time.
You're not going to give up either.
And yeah, when it comes to your kids, I'm not going to give up.
Nope. So if anyone has questions,
yeah,
or wants to talk about something, or just
that's,
talk,
and I
need somebody to talk to.
I think that's why, too, and I think Dad would agree. I think that's why I open up my phone to people. I encourage people to email me, text me, call me, do the Skype with me because I have Skype. I encourage this so much because there are people out there, even if their kids are survivors, it does not mean that later on down the road they're not going to run into future health problems. You can't escape health. It's just the one thing that you cannot avoid. And I know that, like with me, anytime I have ailing health, whether it be just a cough or sinus infection or whatever's going on, or even a stomach ache, I'm on edge because I've already been through so much previously, prior to now, and it's like, well, this is. I hope this isn't a subsequent benefactor of that because I don't want to go through that again. But in essence, if me going through it again meant that your child didn't have to, I would do it in a heartbeat, in a split second, no questions asked. But I also understand that if I chose to do that, it would put my parents back in the same position as they were when I was 2 years old and fighting this. I don't want to put my parents or my family through that kind of heartbreak and that kind of uncertainty. But I feel horrible anytime, like they show the St. Jude commercials, and I love St. Jude. That's just a tiny glimpse of what really goes on. And I've said this many, many times. It's not to discredit St. Jude because they are a wonderful facility, in my opinion. Just like Sparrow and Hurley and all the other hospitals in America, not just in Michigan. But there are lots of wonderful facilities that specialize in helping children fight these enormously big battles. And I lend credence to those people. And like I said, when you watch the St. Jude commercials, it's just a sliver of what really goes on. You see parents crying, you see children without hair. That is part of their reality. There is so much more that I couldn't even begin to fit into an hour-long video. There's so much more that you just don't see. And I mean, like Dad said, there'd be times when he'd sleep in the car out in the parking garage, in the parking ramp. Wasn't there a time when your boss had given you an advance on your pay?
Yeah.
I think Maya told me about that once.
Yeah.
Because your boss knew that I was sick, and
don't worry about it.
Here's an advance in your paycheck. Get down to Lansing, be with your baby, and take care of business. Take care of what needs to be done. And this is another thing I kind of wanted to point out too. When I was diagnosed, my mom had explained this to me. I don't know if you would remember this or not, Dad, but Dr. Forsythe, God rest his soul. I love Dr. Forsythe. He was our family doctor.
Good man.
He was the Marcus Welby of Chesaning. I mean, he knew his stuff. He was very well educated. He was very extremely erudite. And when the news broke that I had Wilms tumor, and he says, well, this is the good kind of cancer. Well, Dr. Forsythe, God rest your soul, but there is no good kind of cancer. Cancer's cancer. And I think what he meant by that, and the word good is taken out of context here. What he meant by the good kind is that it's easy to treat and it's curable, and there's a better fighting chance. I think he was looking at it in terms of survival statistics. I don't think he actually meant.
But then again, I think he was saying that because of what happened with that lady over at that St. Charles. He said that.
Oh yeah, the WIC nutritionist in St. Charles said that me having an abnormally bulged stomach was normal. She said I shouldn't complain. Well, first of all, my parents complained after the fact, but she said that nobody should worry. Well, first of all, you're not a doctor. You're a nutritionist. There's a difference. A doctor the doctor is a guy who looks at you and examines you. The WIC nutritionist just tells you what to give your kid. They both fall under the same category of health, but they're two different careers. They're two different medical practices. They're not mutually exclusive. So for her to tell my parents that me having a bulged stomach is normal didn't set well. It didn't bode well with Dr. Scott or Dr. Forsythe. I'm getting my doctors mixed up. It didn't set well with Dr. Forsythe because he had her fired the same day. Right on the spot. No hesitation. But, Dr. Forsythe had said, he's got the good kind of cancer. I don't think he meant it in that context. I'm thinking what he meant, statistically speaking, my overall chances of surviving Wilms are greater than most other cancers. There is no, technically speaking, and rationally and critically speaking, there is no good cancer. There's nothing good that ever comes from that.
Cancer's cancer, no matter what.
What it does do is it brings everybody together. It's a community that it was not divinely ordained. This wasn't planned. This is something that just happened. And I know people who are clueless and uninformed about what's going on. They like to play the blame game, and they want to blame Trump. They want to blame Obama. They want to blame certain political figures and individuals who work in power. They work in office. I could not blame a single person for what goes on in this world. It's a disease. I didn't ask for it. My parents didn't ask for it. Nobody asked for it. It is something that we were involuntarily thrust into. I was shoved into this. I didn't ask to be a part of this community. Not one single other person in this community asked to be in this community. Especially those of us who are directly affected. The indirectly affected, and it's not to discredit their work, because I'm friends with indirectly affected advocates. But they chose to be in this community. They chose to be a voice. There's no bad context involved there. I think it's wonderful that they chose to get involved and to be a voice for those who may not know how to find the right words to say. Even the indirectly affected advocates don't have the right words to say, obviously. But there are advocates who are as honest as dirt, and dirt is pretty honest. But they are extremely honest, and they share in our emotions, maybe not knowing personally what it's like, but they're just there for us. Like I said, I talked to a very sweet girl. She is an advocate for DIPG. Totally, not what I had. But nonetheless, she is one of the most friendliest, most amazing people I've ever talked to. She is not doing this for herself. She's not doing this to get press. She's not doing this to bolster her bruised ego. And she certainly doesn't have a persecution complex, where if someone has something negative to say, she's not going to go around threatening to sue people. No, those of us who, we just do what we do because that's what we choose to do. And at the end of the day, they're good people. I'm not saying that all indirectly affected advocates are good people, because clearly they're not, but I'm friends with the good ones. And we talk almost daily. So you can imagine the kinds of conversations that we have. But she did point that out. She says, well, I don't want to feel like I'm preaching to the choir on this, because I'm talking to someone who's actually been through it and they know what they're talking about. No, I actually appreciate it coming from you, because I want to be able to have these conversations with someone who may not personally understand.
The thing about everything, Jared, is we're all family.
Yeah.
We're all family. We got to help
That's right.
each other.
That's right. And to those that I've pissed off along the way, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry at the same time.
We're all family. We all stick together.
See, the thing about being an advocate, too, is that you have to speak up. And for me, this is personal. It's very personal. How can it not be? We just talked, the last hour we spent talking about my memories of childhood cancer? How is this not personal for me? And all these trolls and people who come on my channel, they can thumbs down all the videos they want. It's not going to change a thing. Like I said, we just talked about a lot of memories, and with assistance from my dad, who remains off camera. You're not shy. Come on.
Howdy.
They can't see you anyway because you're off camera. But it's just one of those things where you have to consider the obvious. And with me, it's obvious that if it's personal, I should talk about it. And me being an advocate, I don't fear. I mean, if people want to sue me, I don't care. Because if you're going to use my community, or not my community, but if you're going to use our community as a way to levitate yourself and try to pass yourself off as someone who's a big shot, you are going to lose. You're going to fail. I didn't come in this with a competitive mind. I came in this with everything that I am. Because nobody knows this more than the people who have been through it, and I am one of those people. My dad is one of those parents. My dad could relate to a lot of these parents. My dad, he even told me, I mean, he's always open to have conversations with parents who may not understand, or that they're afraid and they don't know which way to turn. I didn't put him up to that, to say, Dad, I would like you to open up to a lot of the parents of these kids. That was his decision.
I'll talk to him.
But that's what I'm saying. That was your choice. I didn't hold him up to that. I did not tell him to do that.
No. They're not alone.
Just like no one told me to get involved with being an advocate or raising awareness. Nobody told me to do that. The thing is my parents, I love them to death, but there are some things that they couldn't have taught me that life did. And the one thing that life taught me is when it knocks you down, you got to get right back up again. Yeah. You don't stay down, and it's all about how long you choose to stay down.
Being a fighter.
You got to get right back up again. You cannot let people or things in life keep you down. You cannot stay down. You are not defeated.
No.
They call you a warrior for a reason. You cannot stay down. Life taught me that. My parents didn't teach me that. Life did. Because
Makes you a stronger person.
Because some of us, that's true, it makes me a stronger person, but some of us actually didn't have a choice in the matter. We had to find out how strong and how weak we are. We had to pinpoint our strengths and our weaknesses immediately, early in life. And it's not to discredit those who have passed away, that they didn't fight hard enough or they weren't strong enough. They were strong. They held on for as long as they most possibly could. In my book, they were strong.
Those were warriors too.
Those are the warriors. Those are my brothers and sisters. They were just as strong. And it doesn't mean that they didn't fight hard enough. They fought with every fiber of their being, every last breath they took, they fought. It doesn't make them less important. It doesn't make them weak or whatever. It doesn't make them less of a warrior just because they were unable to overcome this battle. They are still my brothers and sisters, and they will still and always and forever hold places in my heart that no one can get to. You can talk all the crap you want to say about me on Facebook, and you can share this video. You can do whatever you want to do to your little heart's content, but you cannot break the spirit of a warrior. You can say all the derogatory comments you want about me. Cool. I must really mean that much to you that you're going to take time out of your day to not only share my videos, but to talk a bunch of crap. Well, congratulations. Your dreams of becoming a gossiper have finally come true. And I hope you have a wonderful time doing so. But you're not going to stop me from talking about this. You're going to have to sue me 1,000,000 times over. Because you cannot and you will not break the spirit of a warrior. Those are my brothers and sisters, and whether you people like it or not, they are my brothers and sisters. We are in this thing together. You can hate me today. Tomorrow might be a different story. I can't predict the future. But what I hope for is that if your warriors are still with us, that they continue on that path to good health, and they are able to share their stories with the community and with everybody around them. I want them to be able to have the courage and the decency and the guts to stand up with their chins up, their head held high, and say, I fought this. I kicked cancer's ass. Cancer couldn't stop me. And to the bereaved parents, there's nothing I can say that would ever ease the pain, the indescribable pain, because I honestly and truthfully don't know what you're going through every day. I don't. But I do know that my heart breaks for you every day, because no parent should ever have to go through things like that, ever. No parent should ever have to bury their own child. No parent should have to make bucket lists and funeral arrangements for their kids. No parent should ever have to do that. But you did. But you did. And my heart breaks every day, because I feel that in this world of everything is technology now, and everything is so technologically advanced. Somewhere deep inside, I just feel like there could have been so much more done to save your baby's life, and we've somehow failed. And it's not just the, it starts with the severely underfunded government. 4% for childhood cancer. That's pretty damn foolish and ridiculous, considering the fact that most childhood cancers don't even get the 4%. They don't even get 1%. They get 0%. And this is one of the things that really grinds my gears. It's one of the things that really upsets me, and it's one of the reasons that I became an advocate, because I didn't realize it was this bad until 2013. My eyes opened wide. And I guess I should have always known that being a child of cancer survivor has, there's good and bad that comes with it. And the good is knowing that you can share your stories. The good is knowing that we can keep memories and legacies alive. And the good thing is that my true friends, the people who really understand me and they love me and they care about me as much as I love and care about them and understand them, we can all come together and say, we're not going to take it anymore. Now, I understand that there's not much I can say about a bereaved parent. Because I've never been through that. My parents have never been through that. So there's not much I can say about the bereaved parent who struggles every day. But what I can say is my heart breaks. But I love you and I keep you in my heart always. And your warrior will always be in my heart no matter what anybody says. I don't care who. It could be my worst enemy. I don't care. We are in this together. Nothing or nobody can change that. And if people want to get mad at me because I speak up about a certain other individual who does things that he shouldn't be doing, well, that's just too bad. They're just going to have to get over it. And if they want to continue to jump on these bandwagons saying that Jared is a creep or whatever, a perv or whatever, well, that's their choice, and I can't stop them. See, the thing is, most people worry more about their reputations. They have to protect their reputation. I have to protect my character. You know the phrase, actions speak louder than words? Well, that's not just for yourself. That's for everybody. My actions, what I do, how I treat people, how I help people, that speaks much louder than any piece of gossip ever to circulate on Facebook or right here on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere. Because I know who and what I am. I know what I've been through. And all these people that want to jump on a bandwagon and say, oh, Jared was saying inappropriate things on social media, it's a bunch of crap. I've never said one thing inappropriate to anybody. And every time someone comes at me with this claim that I said something wrong, I ask them to show evidence. Where's your screenshot? Because I know I didn't say it, and I want to see what you come up with. Not one of those people who has ever made a claim had emailed me a screenshot or any kind of incriminating evidence where I was being inappropriate. Now you people are just jumping on bandwagons to get back at me in retaliation because I'm against this guy that you want to grovel at his feet and you kiss the ground he walks on. Tough shit. I don't care. You cannot break my spirit. You cannot stop me. You cannot shut me up. You're going to have to get 1 million lawyers and 1 million lawsuits. You're going to have to do much, much, much more to shut me up. Because this community and these kids mean more to me than any derogatory comment ever to be said. It's not my reputation that I'm concerned about. It is my character. Because my character is who and what I really am, as opposed to a reputation where people like to paint this very bad picture of me, which does not match up to the reality that I know and the people close to me know. So, spreading lies and putting your own, injecting your own context into words like love and sweetheart, wow. Putting your own perverted, twisted, dirty context into words just makes you look like an ass. And I'm just not going to entertain it anymore. What I just shared with you today, talking about my cancer battle on this World Cancer Day 2018, Every bit of it is real. And I look to find more answers to more questions that I have. And you can make fun of me. I'm going to be 32 in July. March 2nd is the day that I commemorate the 29th anniversary of my diagnosis with Wilms tumor. And this fella and I, we go back a very long way. You want to make fun of me because, oh, Jared still has his teddy bear. I don't care. This bear, along with my battle scars, there's a story behind each and everything I've ever shared with any of you, whether it be here on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, or elsewhere. Just because you don't like me, you can't rewrite history. You may not like me for a lot of reasons. Obviously, because I'm outspoken. And it upsets you. You get your panties in a twist. Tough. But because you're mad at me, you cannot rewrite history. I've even had people demand that I show medical charts, medical records, which is a violation of HIPAA. And I don't think I should have to dig as deep as to show you or prove to you that I am a childhood cancer survivor. The evidence that I have been able to provide for the people who care to see it, that is the evidence. All of the paperwork I got from Sparrow, my appointment dates, my outpatient dates from back in the 80s on through the 90s. Why else would I have been at Sparrow? Oh, and apparently the picture I had taken with Dr. Scott last year, that was photoshopped, according to the trolls. Yes, because I just decided one day that I want to pluck a pediatric oncologist out of obscurity. Of all the oncologists in this state, let alone the country, I just decided to pick Dr. Scott to doctor up some kind of fake image. You have got to be kidding me. This is how ridiculously just stupid people are. This is how repugnant they behave. They have such repugnant, repulsive behavior. And I cannot speak any more vehemently about my battle and what I've endured as a child. I cannot be any more clear about that. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not trying to rewrite my own history. And there's people who want to bring up the word transparency. Well, as far as you're concerned, I have been transparent each and every single time. I have nothing to hide. So, on this World Cancer Day, and I don't want to end this on a very sour, negative note because I have been here for well over an hour. I've been here for an hour, almost an hour and a half. Yeah, it's time for me to get a start on the day. We are getting a lot of snow here in Michigan today, like 4 to 7 inches. Dad, he's in the bedroom, but I wanted to thank him for helping me point some things out, talking about World Cancer Day. It is not about me. It's not about any one particular individual. It's about children and teenagers and adults. But I'm a childhood cancer survivor and advocate. So naturally and essentially, that's my primary focus is pediatric cancer. But for all cancer, we need to admire the survivor, acknowledge the fighter, and remember the warrior who has fallen. And if you're going to advocate for awareness and research, do it honestly. Much love. Happy World Cancer Day. Peace.